Hello, this is a setup and review video that I had said I was going to make after my unboxing video. Setup of the bike was very simple. There was a service bulletin that came out that warned about this coming loose, and you need an 8mm to tighten it. And I noticed after 200 kilometers that it's come loose again. So I might look at maybe adding some type of Loctite to it or whatever. I just don't want this falling off in the future. But it has come loose, and I did tighten it once. So it's something I have to keep my eye on. As far as the bike goes, you needed a 15mm wrench to tighten the pedals on. And the only thing that I had to do was add air to the tires and adjust the barrel connector on the derailleur to get it to run smoothly. It didn't take any other settings on the derailleur. It just needed a little, maybe 1.5 turns on the derailleur, and I have it shifting fairly nicely now. Let's see if we can get this going. So there was very little setup there. I lubricated the chain, of course, you have to do that. Added the air in the tires, and the only thing that I noticed, this would be part of the review, is that the clearance between the front fender and the tire is extremely limited on this bike. And if you get the least bit of mud on your tires, it makes a heck of a noise. It sticks, everything sticks in there and rubs. So I've adjusted this up as far as it'll go, and it still doesn't go enough. It's got enough clearance at the back, and the back wheel has enough clearance on its fender. But this one, the front, I'm going to have to modify this bracket somehow to get the fender to go up at least a 1/2 inch more, and that would provide enough clearance at that point. A few of the things that I noted were that if they would have offered the fat tires that the Mini comes with and the shock absorbers that are adjustable that the Mini comes with for a couple of $100 more, I definitely would have gone that route on this bike as well. It would have made it a more of a matched set. But in reality, this bike was bought for somebody who's only going to be riding it on the cement anyways. So it does what it's built for. But like I say, I would have liked the wider fat tires on it, and would have been nice to have the better shock absorbers. I know I'm a fairly heavy person, so I can see we're going to get a lot of stretching in the spokes, I'm sure, on a little wheel like this. And that's going to have to be a maintenance factor somewhere down the line. I haven't noticed anything yet, but I've only got a couple of 100 kilometers on it. It's a very nice running bike. It runs smoothly. The motor is very quiet. I tend to ride it with Power Assist 3 and Speed Step 3 to start with. Okay, we're going to start off, we'll turn on the unit, and usually I start off in Power Assist Mode 3, and in third speed. It doesn't go too quickly. Gets me up to about 15, and it gets me up to about 15 kilometers an hour, like in the snap of a finger. It's very nice. It's a stable acceleration. I do notice that on the speedometer, if you set it in the manual or in some manual that I read somewhere along the line, this type of bike with the Bafang motor, you can set it to go from 9 speed steps, I believe, to 5 to 4, something along that line. I find that I only use speed step 3, 6, and 9. So instead of having to click all the way through all 9 speed steps going up or down, I believe I'm going to change the settings so that I only go, 1 would be no power assist at all, 3 would be what I normally have for power assist, gets me up to about 15 kilometer, 6 would be something that I'd use in the mid-range, gets you into the mid-20 kilometer an hour area, and maybe you'd be in 5th gear by that time. And then finally 4 on the other setting would get you up to what is speed step 9, and you'd use that in 7th gear. I usually speed it up a bit. Some of these trails around here are pretty broken up, so you're continuously fighting with driveways. Oh, and we have a bit of moisture on the ground here too. Get her into 7th gear, power assist 9. Have a little more open space. All in all, it's a good deal, and I think it's very important that people do these videos because in this city where I live, it's not a big city, but it's not a tiny city neither. Like must be 850, 900,000 people living here. And all of the bike shops only have the $3,500 models that have the motor assembly here, which requires literally lots of work. I can see why bike shops carry them, because once you pay for it, you're going to be back to them for maintenance all the time, because you're going to have a lot of wear and tear on your chain and drive assembly, which is good for some things, but just for the normal Joe Blow who rides a bike down the street, goes through a few trails, you know, maybe goes camping and rides it around the campsite, maybe into town from a campsite or whatever if you're carrying it with you. You don't need a mountain bike. You need just a regular little folding bike to get around with. You don't want the power assembly here because it's going to be more wear and tear on the bike, and it's going to be a lot more maintenance. The motor back here, if you lose a chain and you're in the middle of nowhere, you can pick up your chain and use your throttle and get home. On the more expensive bikes, you can't do that. You have to replace the chain or call for help. So I can see why bike shops stick with those bikes. They're much more expensive, but the problem is people can't ride and review these bikes because most of these bikes are sold on the internet. So the only time you ever get to hear about them is if somebody does a review on them. Unless you live in a city with a million plus population where you have maybe a bike shop that's bold enough to use something like this line as well, but most of these lines are all internet only sales. So you really can't test drive them. You really have to hear from somebody what they're like. So it's a very important feature having these reviews afterwards on these bikes, because they cost half as much as the bikes you get in bike shops. And let's face it, I think they're fun. They're nice to have. I don't like these power line guide wires crossing. Sorry. Some of these broken trees haven't been picked up. Very dangerous. Oh, okay, and the river has flooded the path. So, I guess that's a dead end. We'll have to go over the bridge. And we'll take this route instead. All in all, a good unit, and I hope you enjoy this review.